How's it going, everybody? Testing rounds are still underway, and despite me being slow with my videos, we're still going to talk about Orochi. When I first saw the patch notes, I was positively surprised about him. And alright, I forgot to link those last time, so if you want to check them out yourself, you can find them down in the video description. So, when I first saw them, it immediately reminded me of Zhonhu, new bash and recovery cancels. That's also why I will bring up Zhonhu a couple of times and show comparisons to him. But the main thing is that when we got to play the current Zhonhu version for the first time, most people said, oh, he's so fun to play. And I think the same can be said about this Orochi version. Yeah, he might feel a tiny bit clunkier, but overall, he's a joy to play. Obviously, this doesn't automatically translate into the hero being good, but having fun playing and playing against the hero is also of vital importance. And I definitely had fun while playing this version of the hero. But let's go over the changes and some explanations. First, he gets an extra light after every opener attack now. Well, except the bash openers. You should all be familiar with the double top lights he's had since forever. He now gets that extra 4 damage after quite a few extra moves. Side lights, heavies, deflects, dodge attacks, and so on. It's something that'll take a while to settle in. I've forgotten to press it plenty of times. This comes at the cost of the removal of the finisher light. Another reason why nobody should complain about light spam with this hero, but we all know, and have seen the last few days, that this did not accomplish this. But let's stick with that extra +4 from the guaranteed light for a bit. This kinda pushes his damage a little over the top. We've had the CCU bring it down, but slowly but surely, these reworks are upping it again. I think we should keep an eye on that trend. We are looking at 24 damage Storm Rush, for example. But let's look at that move then. Storm Rush can be entered on forward dodge as well now. The entry timings are different depending on dodge direction. Forward is from 100 to 500 milliseconds, whereas back dodge seems to still be a static 300 ms. I'm a big fan of large input windows, even if you will most likely buffer it every single time on front dodge. The back dodge still feels terrible. Indicator wise, they standardized all sides now. Beforehand, right side was faster than left, and left was faster than top. They are now all 600 milliseconds with a 366 millisecond visible indicator. The patch notes say it's 400, but the 366 is consistent on all sides in my tests. On top of that, all 3 sides are now undodgeable. I still tried to dodge them a lot. That's another thing that will take some time to sink in for me. Because of the way they changed stamina consumption, I can only show you the indicator length from the other point of view. I have no way to tell when the attack actually starts. There is no extra cost for the attack itself. All you need to know is that the overall cost went down. It's 2 extra stamina to enter Storm Rush, but no cost for the attack, and the feint cost has been halved from 20 to 10. So, speed-wise, they are ever so slightly faster than 500 ms lights now. Depending on how consistent you are at reacting to those, Storm Rush might give you a little bit of trouble. And also keep in mind that it's 24 damage you're eating if you get hit. Another component of that mix-up is his new kick. You can initiate this bash by forward dodge and GB. This one's another reason why it reminded me of Zhonhu. It's pretty much identical to it. 500 ms bash, coming out at 300 ms into the dodge at the earliest, and 500 ms at the latest. Same as Centurion kick, Zhonhu strike, or Goki headbutt. You do get a light for 13 damage from it. When dodged, you can chain into your combo attacks, which makes it immune to GBs if the attack is thrown. Most of you should be familiar with this kind of interaction. Alright, I guess I should have started with the recovery cancels before the kick at least, but we'll get back to that in just a second. Just like Zhonhu, Orochi can now dodge to recovery cancel after most of his moves. On live, this was only the case on finishes. Now it's after all moves except for dodge attacks. Now, the complaint I've seen and that Marco has already addressed nicely on Twitter is that the recovery cancel for finishes has basically been nerfed. It went from 200 as the earliest to 333 ms. Those 333 are the exact same as Zhonhu's, by the way, but Zhonhu can also do it on dodge attacks. On top of that, after a whiff, these 333 go up to 433 ms. This might be one of the main reasons why it does feel a little clunky for a lot of people, at least way clunkier than what they're used to. On top of that, the next thing is a little bit of a personal gripe. Recovery cancels that only work in a specific window feel terrible in my opinion. Berserker used to have that as well. Unless you buffered the dodge, you were still stuck there. And Orochi feels similar. You get to cancel the recovery, but if you don't do it quickly enough, you are back in the recovery, which you no longer can cancel. This seems a little backwards to me, and I don't really see a reason to deny a late cancel. Especially since this was something that got fixed on Berserker with his last rework just a few weeks ago. It would also be nice if Orochi could keep the old recovery cancel timing on whiffs. We already know how this plays out in teamfights as we have it on Berserker. Granted, this might be too much on a single character. Fast cancels on whiff and then quote-unquote normal or slower cancels on hit and block. I guess that's up for discussion. Might be overkill, might work out just fine. A good example of where you can use this type of recovery cancel is when somebody dodge attacks your kick. You'd be able to deflect dodge attacks similar to what Zhonhu can already do. The timing here is quite strict, so reaction dodges and the ones made on read will differ here a bit. Question here is whether Orochi should be allowed to deflect dodge attacks after a whiff. So this brings us to the new deflect then. Hurricane Blast was removed, which was his heavy deflect. I'm not really happy that this option got removed, but also don't really consider it that big of a loss. Or could have just left it in. You now only get the one from a light input, which is Wind Gust, and this one also gets that extra +4 from the guaranteed light. The wording in the patch notes confused a few people, including me. I initially thought that forces our reaction could mean that it now beats hyper armored attacks, but that is not the case, as you can see here. Still, it's quite a big number when it comes to damage. Then for the dodge attacks, let's do Riptide first. That's Orochi's back dodge light. It's now 500 ms, down from 600, and it had iframes added and is now enhanced. And not mentioned in the patch notes, it's a heavy parry now. The move itself kinda reminded me a bit of Warden's back dodge shoulder bash. If all fails, just do that one. Seems a bit of a catch it all. Especially since it seems to be GB immune as well, even when you bait it out with a simple forward dodge. This is currently not the case in the light version. Animation wise, they seem to have removed some of its backward movement and tried to compensate that by adding the extra iframes. The move does feel really good and probably even a tad too strong. In general, Orochi's dodge attacks are all heavy parries. This seems to have slipped through and wasn't intended. So give feedback on that specifically. I'll also link to that survey down in the description. These are some high damaging and oftentimes very fast dodge attacks that only give a heavy parry. Granted, it felt nice to not be punished harshly for using them, but they seem to land quite often for how little risk there is involved in throwing them out. So let's talk about the in-chain mix-up now. The recovery cancels can be used to go into dodge kick or lightning strike or even storm rush. Problem is, like I previously mentioned, the late timings and big chain links which open Orochi up to be easily interrupted. On light hit stun, even the kick can be stuffed with a light. So even if lightning strike beats it, the mix-up is, well, quite limited. Obviously storm rush is completely out of the question here. Medium hit and block stun give you enough frame advantage to go into the kick. So you do have a mix-up between bash and undodgeable light here. And remember that the undodgeable light here counts as a heavy parry. Storm rush, once again, is interruptible. And then again from heavy hit stun, which you get from either the finisher unblockable or from a zone, opens up all three options. At that point, your opponent needs to play your game, even with Storm Rush. Because the whole mix-up is so prone to being interrupted, I'm not quite sure how effective it will be. We'll have the big divide between people that understand frame advantage and the ones that don't. So, to many this will feel completely arbitrary why it sometimes works, and the next time they get interrupted again. Because of the many options, and especially Lightning Strike, this mix-up should not be that easily reactable. I don't know who practiced it already, considering a lot of these players are practicing for the Minion series, which doesn't include these TG heroes. But feel free to share your experience, please. Then let's quickly talk feats. In a no option select world, Ki is suddenly absolutely amazing. It allows for easy stalling, and you do get 2 to 3 attempts for your unblockable. And without the option to GBOS, you have quite a bit of pressure. Probably a little bit too much for a mere tier 1 feat. I actually don't want to talk about feats too much, as Orochi has access to another problematic one, but I don't feel like talking about Smoke Bomb once again. So let's leave it at that for now. To sum it up, I think Orochi's rework is a lot of fun, but it also didn't catapult him into S tier or something like that. But he's also far from a throw pick now. I hope we get our hands on this rework soon. Small changes is all it needs. Let me know what you think. I hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Laters everybody.